Is Zepbound the answer to menopause weight gain? Hi, I'm Terri. Welcome back to my channel. It has been a really long time and it's good to be back. Recently, I started Zepbound. I started my GLP-1 weight loss journey and it has been a fascinating experiment and experience. Fortunately, I've had some good results. I want to go ahead and talk about it. I also want to talk about why I started Zepbound. Back in June, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis and meniscus issues in my left knee. I was basically referred to PT, referred to a surgeon to talk about my options, and was told to lose 5 or 10 pounds. Well, for most of us who are in midlife, I'm now 55, postmenopausal, the weight gain has been atrocious. It has been just a complete nightmare and has transformed who I am, what I think of myself, and how I operate in the world. Not just as a vanity play, but also in just kind of how I felt about myself. Like many of you probably seen on social media, all sorts of advertisements for Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro and Zepbound. Heard all sorts of things about famous people with significant success with GLP-1s. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit interested in something that would potentially help in any sort of weight loss, or at least stop the weight gain that seemed to be happening as my hormones have changed. Even though I'm on menopause hormone therapy, I do an estrogen patch, I do progesterone, that did nothing to stop the weight gain. So in addition to starting physical therapy and scheduling appointments with surgeons, I reached out to my general practitioner to have a conversation about my options. I did a little bit of research and went through all the things that I was afraid of. Loss of muscle mass, loss of bone density, the Ozempic face, also some of the life changes that I would expect if I was drastically changing how I saw food in my life. A year and a half ago, my husband and I launched a YouTube channel called Zeke and Terri Adventures to inspire people over the age of 50 to get out, get uncomfortable, and go adventure. And if you've seen any of our videos, you'll know that my husband Zeke always has to have coffee, and I always have a glass of wine or champagne. In fact, my tagline is tiara-wearing, champagne-drinking troublemaker, looking to help women change the world. So we talked through the various different options and decided, oh my God, it was such a hard decision because I was resistant to taking any sort of medication. And I'd also learned that once you start taking it, you really need to be taking it for life. Otherwise, the weight comes right back on. And that would defeat the whole purpose. In talking to the PA at my sports medicine doctor's office, apparently for every pound of weight that I lose, it's 4 pounds less pressure on my knee. So that's pretty significant. So putting any weight back on would just continue to exacerbate the issue. And while I was waiting to have appointments with surgeons to talk about what my options were, and I was doing hyaluronic acid injections, which didn't work, I did a steroid injection to kind of bring down the inflammation and relieve some of the pain. It didn't work completely. So while I was waiting, I thought, okay, let me go ahead and give Zepbound a try. And I really didn't know the difference between like an Ozempic and Zepbound. One is a semaglutide, one is a tirzepatide. One goes after a certain hormone receptor, and the Zepbound goes after 2 hormone receptors. I have learned so much over the last 6 weeks of being on Zepbound, not just from my own research, but the Zepbound community on TikTok, where I'm posting my journey on a weekly basis, has been extraordinarily supportive and extraordinarily helpful in providing insight, suggestions, perspective, and so much more. I mean, the encouragement has been absolutely fantastic. But getting on Zepbound has not been an easy process. I wanted to start immediately. Once I went through the arduous process of making the decision, I just was like, okay, fine, let's just get it over with. Let's just make it happen. Let's just see if I'm going to suffer from all the different side effects, see how my body's going to react, and get this party started. Of course, I had to wait for the doctor's office to put in the prescription and then get approval from my insurance company, even though it was highly unlikely they were going to approve it. And they didn't approve it, but there was one mix-up after another, and it took about a week for me to get the denial. and then for me to get the prescription into my local CVS so that I could get the injectors, not realizing that they were going to have to order it because they didn't have it in stock. So that was another couple days delay. Finally get the order, I have to pay out of pocket. For those of you who don't know, the actual approved clinical protocol is to do 1 injection a week. There's a lot of conversation on social media about microdosing, but there's actually no clinical data, clinical evidence, or any sort of FDA approval for microdosing as far as I'm aware. So then I decide to do it, but I'm too scared to inject it into myself on my own. So I enlisted the aid of my husband, who was more than happy to jab me in the back of my arm. So that's another thing that I learned is you basically have 1, 2, 3 different areas that you can inject. You can do the back of your arm, you can do your belly, or you can do the front of your thighs. So far, I've done the back of my arm and I've done my belly. And there's mixed information about whether there's a difference in effectivity for individuals on injection site. So I'm playing with that. And that's the thing. It's like, this is like such an experiment. The first day after my injection, because I did it on a Tuesday night, oh my God, I was tired. I was nauseous. But these were all things that I expected. But I also learned not only from my research, but also for the wonderful community on TikTok, is that staying hydrated, eating frequent meals, making sure that I was eating protein with every meal, getting enough fiber would help not only with the nausea, but also would help the medication work properly and help my body start operating optimally. One of the things that I think I've realized on this, which is why I think it could be a helpful tool for a lot of us who are in midlife, who have gone through or are going through the menopause transition and are struggling with central belly weight gain, which is not good for our overall health. I think it reignites the metabolism or the furnace in order to make things start working properly again. I equate it to, diabetics need insulin in order for their bodies to perform or function properly. And I think for a lot of us, once our hormones change, the things that we used to do to be able to maintain our weight, maintain good health, no longer work because our hormones stop working or being produced at the same level. And then our body stops working and performing optimally. That's why I think this could be an answer for a lot of us. So far for me, I have lost 12 pounds in 6 weeks. But I attribute that to not only just the medication, but also the change in habits that have accompanied my intense commitment to just getting healthier overall. Initially, I was motivated by fear. I was afraid of the side effects, both short and long term. I was afraid of nausea. I was afraid of constipation. I was afraid of the loss of bone density, the loss of muscle mass. All of those drove me to focus on very, very healthy eating habits. So in the morning, every other day, I make a big blender full of what I call the Fiber Bomb protein and fiber shake or smoothie. I did a TikTok on that. I make enough so that I have it for breakfast and for snacks for 2 days. And then 2 days later, I'll make it again. It's mostly tasty. So that's a great way for me to start my day. And then I have cottage cheese and fruit for lunch. And maybe I'll have some like cheddar cheese in the afternoon. And then I do a normal dinner. So that could be some sort of a protein, whether it's chicken, fish, steak, with a bunch of veggies. Sometimes there'll be potatoes, sometimes there'll be some rice. A couple of the big differences in my diet now, not just because there's less food noise, and the food noise is like the chatter of like, okay, what am I going to be eating next? Or while I'm eating, what am I going to eat in my next meal? Or I'm eating dinner and it's like, oh, what am I going to have for dessert? That is way down. It's not gone, but it's way down. But I am absolutely not interested in alcohol, processed sugar, any sort of greasy stuff, or junk food. I don't know if it's because I'm afraid that if I start having those things, then I will go off the rails, or if my body really, really doesn't want it. And I think that's really contributed to the success of not just my weight loss, but also the change in measurements. After 6 weeks, my waist was down like 3 inches, my hips were down 2 inches, my bust like 1.5 inches, no bicep changes, my thighs 0.5 inch to 1 inch. My BMI was down 1.5. I started at 200.3 pounds. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. But if you look at some of our latest videos from the end of our last trip on Zeke and Terri Adventures, you can probably see it. I can definitely feel that, that's gone and it feels good. My goal is to lose 30 to 35 pounds. Now, while the sports medicine guys said lose 5 or 10 pounds, that just didn't seem like it was going to be enough. But based on the feedback that I got from some of the women on who responded to my TikToks, was that their knee pain went away once they'd lost a certain amount. So while I'm not counting on that, I am looking forward to the possibility that maybe my knee pain will go away. The knee pain has not gone away with any of the things that I've done. I was in the gym almost 7 days a week, doing the PT, strength training, riding an exercise bike just to keep things moving. I did cut back my tennis from, 5 or 6 days a week, which I was doing before February, to I'm now only playing doubles and it's about 3 days a week. So hoping that will keep the inflammation down and then potentially not aggravate it any further. The goal is to be able to not only get back out on the court, I won't go back to singles, but to play until I'm in my 90s. I'm putting a lot of effort into my overall health this summer. So my latest plan is I'm in the gym 4 days a week and then I'm on the tennis court 3 days a week. And I'm hoping that that's going to be good enough for right now. Unfortunately, in December, after consulting with some surgeons, we determined that a partial knee replacement would be ideal at this time. I have a 3-month window for the surgery and for recovery before I need to be travel ready to go on our spring trip. I know that sounds aggressive, which is why right now I'm trying to do everything possible, including being super focused on my eating habits, the Zepbound, the PT, and just general exercise and movement. So there have been some unexpected side effects associated with this from a positive perspective. I think my eyebrows, which basically had kind of thinned during the menopause transition, I think they're growing back. My nails, and maybe it's the collagen powder that I'm adding to the smoothies, my nails are growing in ways that I haven't seen since I was pregnant and afterwards when I was nursing. The skin on my hand seems more supple. I seem less dehydrated. That's probably because I'm drinking, 3 of these a day at least. Plus I'm doing 8 to 12 ounces of water with electrolytes in them in order to stay hydrated throughout the day. I know I was chronically dehydrated beforehand, so that could be why. I know people lose hair on it. I haven't really noticed any additional hair loss. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that's not going to come. I also feel like my blood sugar is more stable, but that's probably because I'm more intentional about what I'm eating and when I'm eating. The frequency is probably helping. Before I was really not great, and I was drinking coffee in the morning, and then at noon I might eat something, and then of course I'd eat dinner and then have like wine or cocktails or something with dinner. And so it was probably not doing the right thing. I think part of the loss in some of the inches might be just the loss of the inflammation associated with probably eating the sugar and drinking the alcohol, which is not ideal for those of us in the perimenopause transition or postmenopause. There's still some food noise, but when food noise pops up and I'm like, oh, ice cream, does that sound good? Do I really want that? I kind of roll it around in my brain. I roll it around in my mouth and I'm like, no, I don't really want it. I have made myself a gin and tonic at least once, if not twice in the last couple of weeks, taken half a sip and like, no, it's not really what I want. So the food noise doesn't go away, but my preferences have changed. My energy has, I think, become more stable, which is nice. I did ask my husband, Zeke, I'm like, are you noticing a difference in my energy and my attitude and my behavior or anything like that? And he's like, no. I also asked him if he noticed if I'd lost any weight. I'm like, this is you can't get this answer wrong, so please answer honestly. And he says, no. He's like, it's been this slow decline, so no, I'm just not noticing a difference. I did put on something today and I'm like, oh, this is a little bit looser. Because up until now, I pretty much wear the same thing and I couldn't tell the difference with my clothes. A couple of other things that are kind of interesting. As I have shared my journey with other women, both through Facebook and through TikTok, I have been absolutely surprised by the number of women that I know who have been on some sort of a GLP-1, whether it's Ozempic or Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, and I had no idea. I think there's a lot of shame around being on a GLP-1, especially for those of us women. We are told that we are, we can have it all and be it all, and therefore we need to be responsible for everything, including the fact that our bodies have changed and we put on some weight. I call bullshit on that. I call that totally patriarchal. And once again, I call bullshit on that. So I am hoping that we have more conversations about these things in order to make it so there's less of a stigma. And just like a diabetic needs insulin, sometimes some of us need added help in order to maintain a healthy weight, healthy for us individually, and not one that's based on the expectations of a patriarchal society. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't a little bit interested, maybe more than a little bit interested, in the fact that I am regaining the shape that I used to have, that I might be able to wear some cute clothes again, that I won't feel the need to hide behind black clothes and dark colors and, accent with colors instead of, owning my size, my shape. I am a little bit excited about that. I know I shouldn't be, because it ties into the patriarchal expectation of what women are supposed to look like. But the whole catalyst for this was my knee, taking pressure off of my knee. Whether I use that as an excuse to try the GLP-1 or not, it really is serving a purpose, because between now and December 15th, I need to get into the best shape possible so that I have the easiest recovery from something that is going to be incredibly difficult and incredibly painful. Merry Christmas to us. Is this the answer to menopause, perimenopause, weight gain? For me, maybe it is. For you, I can't say. I'm not a healthcare professional. You'll have to talk to your doctor. You'll have to check in to see how you're feeling. Like, I feel really light. I feel really good, and I'm only down 12 pounds. I just feel better overall. Not everyone commits to the lifestyle changes that are necessary when you go on a GLP-1. It's not magic. I see people posting, like, this is what I eat in a day, and they've got like donuts and McDonald's and all these different things. And, no judgment here, but if you ever want to decrease your medication and go on maintenance, and if you're doing it from an overall health perspective, I'm not sure that eating garbage like that is really going to serve you in the end. Same reason why I'm probably afraid of drinking alcohol or eating sugar while I'm on this, because I'm trying to use this as an opportunity to change some behavioral habits, some eating habits that may not have been as healthy for me. Oh, cut the crap, Terry, that we know wasn't really healthy. So maybe this will be the thing to get me to retrain my brain to look at food differently and still enjoy it, because for us, food is a thing. Our family, we cook together, we eat together, we create things together, we critique food. We're like, we could do this, we could do that. Our culture also is a go out to a meal, go out for a drink, go out for a coffee. And I don't want to completely back out of that part of my life. I just want to be doing it with a healthier approach. If I want to live to be 100 and I'm 55 right now, that's 45 more years. And I've lived life, I don't want to say hard, because it hasn't been hard, but I've lived life well, and I want to continue to do so. So I will continue to share updates on TikTok, so go ahead and follow me over there. It's Terri Hanson Mead. And as for, ongoing content, I always focus on things around midlife women. This was one thing that was really important to me and really relevant right now. Next week or the week after, who knows? But it'll always be fight the patriarchy. So have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. If you've had a good or bad experience, go ahead and drop a note in the comments, or send me a note at pilotingyourlife@gmail.com. And remember, let go of perfection, take some risks, and above all else, have some fun.